As of this video's release, it will have been roughly 55 years since The Valley of Gwangi was released. Just in case you don't know, The Valley of Gwangi is a western adventure movie that was directed by Jim O'Connelly and features stop-motion animation by the legendary Ray Harryhausen that was released in 1969. And in order to celebrate its 55th anniversary, I figured it was only natural to go over what a potential remake of the movie might look like. Now, as of this video, I should note that I have not been able to find any news of a remake being announced or entering development. So, whether or not this video will age poorly remains to be seen. Now, when it comes to the dinosaurs in this movie, I wanted to go in a similar direction that Peter Jackson did for his 2005 King Kong movie, which is by having them be fictional dinosaurs that evolved over time while still bearing a superficial resemblance to their ancestors. For each of these fictional creatures, I have commissioned freelance artist Gael Casas to work on every single one of them. Now, I should mention that each dinosaur and creature mentioned in this part of the video will have a Spanish word in the first half of their name and a Greek or Latin one in their second half. So if the translations are off, then do let me know. Now, when it came to the other creatures of this movie, I felt that there wasn't as much of a need to stick as closely to the original versions, unlike with Gwangi. But without further ado, let's start with the first creature that appears in the movie. No, not Gwangi, the Eohippus, named El Diablo, which in this case is named Rabbit Horse, as per its scientific name, not just for its small size, but also for its habit of resting in abandoned rabbit burrows. Now, when it came to coming up with a pterosaur based on the pteranodon that appeared in the original movie, I saw back to other various dinosaur shows and movies, both old and new, where pterosaurs swoop in and grab humans like birds of prey, when in reality, most if not all pterosaurs that I at least know of were not adapted for the method of hunting. But what if there was? Meet Demon Wingbird, a pterosaur that has actually evolved to prey on roughly human-sized targets. If I could describe this thing even further, I would say that despite not being related to birds at all, it has been unfortunately blessed with the aggression of a goose, the gluttony of a pelican, the hunting prowess of a golden eagle, and the viciousness of a petrel. Next up, we have got the 10-horned lizard, which is loosely modeled after the Styracosaurus that fought and got killed by Gwangi in the original movie. Next, we've got the boar-toothed bird, which is loosely based on the Ornithomimus that also appeared in the original movie. But as you can see, it is now instead a type of oviraptor. But now let's move on to the main star himself, Gwangi. Now, when it came to Gwangi, I could not find any official confirmation on whether or not he was a Tyrannosaurus or an Allosaurus, or a strange hybrid of the two. So if anyone does know, do let me know. But for the sake of making this movie stand out from other dinosaur movies, I have decided to make him a type of allosaur, but one that has convergently evolved a similar build to the Tyrannosaurus. Now, one of the most iconic traits about the original Gwangi is that he is purple, which in this context will be due to a fictional mutation that's similar to ericerism, leucism, melanism, and xanthochromism. Now, there will be another reason for keeping him purple besides just being more faithful to the original, which will be that his purple coloration makes it much more difficult for him to hunt, which then forces him to abandon his valley and search for prey elsewhere. As for his scientific name, I have dubbed him Old Western Lizard. Now, one thing I wanted to mention before moving on is that while there would definitely be more prehistoric animals, I have decided to only limit myself to creatures based on the ones that appeared in the original movie, both for the sake of time and money. I figured it's only appropriate that I start out with the most faithful version of a potential remake. Now, since this is going to be largely the same as the first one, I am only going to go over the major to minor changes One of the first major changes will occur after El Diablo is kidnapped and the old blind Romani woman Tia Zorna gives her ominous warning. The camera pans over to Gwangi's valley with the entrance now open. The next major story change will take place after the scene where TJ shows her ex-lover Tuck El Diablo, where the film will cut to a cattle farm late at night that gets attacked by Gwangi, which leads to the cattle trampling the farmer in a panicked stampede. The next day, after the scene where Lopi and Tuck meet Professor Bromley, they then head to town where they come across a large gathering of people, who have all come together in light of the farmer's death. During the commotion, they overhear someone that claims to have seen footprints that seem to belong to some giant bird near the farm. Assuming that the professor might know a thing or two about this, they bring him along to the farm where he correctly identifies the footprints to belong to some sort of giant theropod dinosaur. Later that night, Gwangi is stalking the grounds of TJ's circus, which spooks one of her elephants, causing it to panic and break out of its cage, where it is caught, killed, and eaten by Gwangi. By the next morning, the remains of the elephant have been found, and word has gone out that these attacks were caused by a legendary beast who goes by the name of Gwangi, who is seeking vengeance for having an animal from his valley stolen. Word then spreads even faster that TJ is the one who possesses said animal. Then just as quickly, a mob forms outside of TJ's circus, demanding that she hands over El Diablo. Luckily, TJ calms down the mob with some help from Tuck, promising that they will return El Diablo back to the valley. After they set off for the valley and set up camp for the night, TJ confides in Tuck that she had known the elephant since she was a little girl, and that it had basically become a family member, and that after they find the entrance to the valley, she will return to kill Gwangi and sell his remains to the highest bidder to save her circus. Tuck suggests that they should try to bring Gwangi in alive, so that he would be more valuable. TJ isn't initially on board, but the desperation of wanting to save her circus is enough to convince her. As they continue, they find that they have both been followed by Lopi and Professor Bromley. The two reluctantly agree to let them tag along, but as they continue, the four of them are attacked by bandits who chase them along the edge of the cliff. However, both parties then get attacked by pterosaurs, which unfortunately includes Lopi's mule, Rosita. Once the group has escaped safely, they eventually find the Valley of Gwangi, where they then release El Diablo. Once there, they find a smaller dinosaur and chase it, only for it to run right into the jaws of Gwangi like in the original movie. Unlike the original movie, there will be a minor fourth wall break as Professor Bromley comments on how Gwangi looks nothing like he expected, while holding a sketch of the original 1969 design. Once they confirm that it is Gwangi, they immediately make plans to capture him by using some of the chloroform they got from TJ's circus, but are attacked by the Ceratopsian, which they then lure into a fight with Gwangi. After the Ceratopsian is killed, they spring their plan into action and successfully lure Gwangi to a trap which knocks him out. After Gwangi is transported into his cage, a few of the surviving bandits try to break him out in hopes of selling him off. However, he wakes up and goes on his rampage across the town at night. Then finally, at the end of his rampage, Gwangi is trapped in a building and set on fire. As they gaze upon the burning building, both TJ and Tuck realize what they have done. And finally, at the end of the story, they both travel back to the entrance to the valley and blow it up. Once that is done, they both ride off into the sunset, agreeing to start from scratch instead of trying to revive the past. Now, I am only going to briefly go over the other ideas since they fall much more closer to the reboot category, such as a story that takes place during the Mexican Revolution, following a group of peasants trying to escape from enemy soldiers by retreating into the Valley of Gwangi and trying to survive in there as long as possible. Or a revenge story like Moby Dick, but with a similar framing device like the movie Rashomon, where several farmers band together to hunt down Gwangi who has been preying on their livestock. Each farmer describing him in slightly different ways, with the only through line being that he is described as some sort of ancient creature from a forgotten time. However, each time the story would cut to Gwangi, the movie would be framed almost more like a nature documentary, showing that in the end he is still just an animal trying to get by. And now I am curious, which idea did you think had the most potential? Let me know down below.